But if you did, and it's the first time you watch it, we are normally live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. Or as I put in Gavin's email to him, what I say, like 7:75?
75.
I mean, technically, that's a time if you use decimals, right? 7:75, right?
Yeah. Technically, that's like 8. What 8?
Well, so it would be
15.
3/4. So that would be the 45. Same thing. I mean, I meant 7:45. Which
We
is three
figured it out.
quarters of an hour. Yeah, you were nice to me and said that. No, does that mean I need to be there at 8:75?
Yeah.
So I was close. I just mistyped. It's funny that I think I got it wrong. No, maybe I didn't do both. But anyways, if you've got this on the recorded version, I don't know how you got here, but if you did, we're live Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central at theaverageguy.tv/live. If you're joining us in the chat room, I see Brian and Ken already out there. Welcome, guys. Good to see you. And we'll get started here in just a second. Gavin, you've been a big fan. Gavin Campbell, by the way, is with us tonight. Gavin, you've been a big friend not only a friend of the show, but you also always come with your SodaStream water. We do a beer pour or a whiskey pour. Last week, we did a wine pour. What is it about the SodaStream that's so good for you? Why you said you're addicted to it? You like it maybe too much. What is it about it that you really like?
I really don't know what it's the fizziness. I think probably that got me hooked, right? And I feel bad because tonight I actually don't have any. I got a Tim Hortons coffee, right?
Nice.
Instead, but here's the empty SodaStream. I mean, this was earlier, so I mean, it's kind of here, snow yet? I'm gonna get into that short. No, but it's like 8 degrees Celsius at night now.
Oh,
so that I'm wearing a hoodie today just because all the windows were open and I was freezing.
Hold on, 8 degrees Celsius. That just for our American friends, that's 46 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's a little chilly.
Yeah, it's getting a little down there now.
I think we're seeing. We've had 90s. Hold on. So we've had 90 degrees, which is 32 degrees Celsius, for the last. It seems like the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's been pretty warm. I think though, we got a storm rolling through. No, actually, as I'm looking at that long term, no, we got 90s for the next week. So it's going to stay hot for a while. I don't think that it's good for the grass. Get a little rain, get a little sun.
It's starting to cool down here, and in the days it goes up to like maybe 25, but at night we're getting like 8 degrees. So it's really nice at night. No, I like it.
Yeah, and so Brian's reminding me tonight, Chiefs, Chargers, Thursday night football, Prime, Amazon Prime. I'm gonna go back and watch the replay on YouTube. I've kind of gotten into that. I told him I'll watch it on YouTube later. I've kind of gotten into the YouTube summaries of NFL puts up their summaries of the games. They're 10 minutes. They pick out all the good things. And then I don't even care if I know what the score is. It's just the weirdest thing. I'm going to, after the program tonight, I got to get a few more steps on the treadmill and stand up over the course of 2 hours. Don't ask me why, but I got to do it. And I'm competing.
No spoilers.
Yeah. I'm competing in challenge. Is it called Challenges? I think it is. There's an app called Challenges. Let me see if that's. Yeah, Challenges is the app. I got a bunch of kids at work on it, and they joined. They asked me, "Hey, do you want to do these challenges?" And I think they thought I'd be easy, and I've been tied for first the whole time. But I'm kind of crazy about it. So, well, I'm glad you got some. I'm sad you're out of SodaStream. I'm glad you got some Tim Hortons. You're drinking coffee. Or did you get
it's coffee?
It doesn't keep you up.
No, it's keeping me warm right now. Actually,
okay. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
I could drink a late night coffee and I can still fall asleep. It doesn't take much to get me to fall asleep.
Well, that's good. That's good. Tony says 81, and to be 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius.
Yeah, it's weird because when I see like 81, it means nothing to me. Like I can't in my head, I can't translate it. So when I hear 27, it's like, oh, that's warm.
I know, isn't that crazy? That you
I know.
Think that you just if we did it enough, if we did the translations enough, between the two, you'd get used to it. If you had to do it for your job or some of those kinds of things. But
81's great for like snakes and stuff like that. Tony will appreciate that one.
Yeah, John's checking in. Good to see you, John. He says it's just getting ready to get on with John Biggs for not being in the live stream, and boom, there he is. Look at that. Love that, John. Thanks for coming out tonight. Good to see you. Yeah, John throws the formula up for that in the chat. It'll take a second to show up on there, but so Celsius is Fahrenheit minus 30 divided by 2.
Yeah.
So if you could do that in your head, 81, right? 80 minus 30, right? 50 divided by 2, 25. So get close somewhere in there. And so I need to get better at. I talk about the weather so much. I need to. In fact, on Twitter, I tweet the weather, the Omaha weather every day.
Yeah.
And one of the listeners said, "Can you put Celsius in there?" So I did. And so it says both Fahrenheit and Celsius. That's in there. So Bob's checking in. He's got 18. Oh, that's a little chilly. He's got 18 degrees Celsius in Vancouver, and that's 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And so that's actually nice. 65 on the deck with a beverage and a candle. That would be pretty good. I am this is gonna be a shocker, not vodka, just water. I'm doing water tonight. No, I just was like, I'm kind of thirsty and I'm kind of tired of beer and bourbon. I'm just not into it tonight. And so I was like, I'm just gonna go with straight water. So here we are, water. No.
We have people that man, there's a large range of temperatures in there.
No, right on. Brian's checking in from Phoenix, 94 in Phoenix. By the way, if the first time you listen to the show, you're like, where's the material? We'll get to it. This is the pre-show. This doesn't make the podcast stuff. It does make the Patreon. If you want this recorded, this part on either audio or video on YouTube, just become a Patreon subscriber. I'll send it to you. So head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. John's checking in from Maryland. He says 70. 70. That's got to be what, 20 maybe? Let's go. 21 degrees Celsius. So, and then Uncle Marv down in Lauderdale, 80 with a real feel of 89. Yeah, it'd be a good place. Never gets cold.
No,
never gets cold in Lauderdale.
It's hot and hotter.
When it does get cold, they freak out down there. 26.6 degrees Celsius. So, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for checking in. Always good to, I love, John says it worth every Patreon penny. So if you haven't done that yet, head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. I've got room for a couple more. So plans are $5. I'll send you a little coin. I got room for a couple more if you want to join us on Patreon. No pressure though. No pressure. Just some people said, hey, want to be able to support you. All right, there it is. If you don't do it, it's okay too. So, all right, Gavin, let's get chatting. We got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's
just random tech.
Well, we got some home automation. Yeah, like that's kind of your thing. So we got some home automation to catch up on. So we'll talk. I've actually got I'll save it for the show.
Yeah, save it for the show.
I saved it for the show. Yeah, I have an interesting thing on home automation. Okay, let me do this. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 546, recorded on September 15th, 2022. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. If you missed the pre-show, that's all we talked about was weather and the pre-show. Of course, we post the show with some world-class show notes out there at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to Agent Crew. If you didn't join us last week, Agent Crew from winespies.com. I did end up buying some wine. I started a locker. I think I have 5 or 6 bottles of wine out there that I need to add 6 more, and they'll ship them to me for free. Some good deals. Gives me a chance to kind of hang around and wait for, they have these flash sales that they do, and so every day you get a different wine to take advantage of, and so we're building a locker. If you haven't checked it out yet, winespies.com. No affiliate or anything like that, but if you want to head out there, the locker, I think if you're a wine drinker, the wine locker is kind of the way to do it. So give it a try. And then of course, big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well. I mentioned them a little bit earlier, but if you want to take advantage of that, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Gavin Campbell is hanging out with us. Gavin, he's kind of the home automation, writes his own code for home automation. Gavin, welcome back to Home Gadget Geeks.
Thank you very much. And yeah, just to say to the listeners, this is not my day job. So, it's just something I'm really passionate about. I like doing. So, I get things wrong, but you know what? I like to talk about it.
Do people say you get things wrong? Like,
all the time.
really?
And you know what? I just I let it go. People are always ready to point out anything you say wrong.
They
like
are.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I just let it go.
I know that was I was kind of because that's all you get on YouTube. You should have done it this way. Oh, if you thought about it, you should have done it that way. We don't get too much of that here. So I think Gavin, you're in good hands. Okay. Tell me about your other podcast. What are you guys doing right now? How do people find it? What are you doing on your podcast?
So I'm part of another podcast, HomeTech.fm with Seth and TJ. And that's where we talk all home tech stuff. So we go through news headlines, and we talk a lot about what we're doing in our own home, little projects we're working on, stuff like that, and we do that on a weekly. So that's HomeTech.fm. Check it out. And we have like a Slack channel, and it's everybody from like the do-it-yourselfer to the pro. And these pros, sometimes they show us their projects they're working on, and it blows me out of the water, like a $500,000 basement, and just like, it's crazy what they show us sometimes, but it's a great podcast. Well, I'm a little biased, but
you enjoy it.
I enjoy doing it.
you know that this podcast used to be Home Tech. When I first started it 10 years ago, we were Home Tech. And then I changed it to Home Gadget Geeks. And I think you guys stole it from me. I should come after you guys for copyright infringement. I never copyrighted it. So I think you'd win.
Go after Seth, if anything. He's at 404, so you got a few more episodes than we do. So go after Seth.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's all okay, and I'm glad you guys picked up on it, and I'm glad there's some good comments. Brian says in chat, enjoy listening to insights on home tech. Always a fun listen. So good job over there. Let's talk a little bit. You got a new mic, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on microphones, but you picked up a new mic. Tell me what you got.
Oh, I got the Shure MV7X, and that's the one you're seeing right here. It even still has the tag on it because I'm kind of testing it out. I was going to say,
is that like when you buy a hat and you leave the authentic tag on it?
No, it's kind of like when you buy a new outfit and you leave the tag on it so you can return it in case after. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. The guy said I have 30 days with it, and let him know how it is, and I can take it back and try one of the other mics. So I grabbed the Shure MV7X, but this is actually my first time using it. Other than
cool, sounds good.
It sounds great.
Yeah, sounds good. How does it sound to you?
It sounds good. The only thing I had to replace on it was the pop filter, the foam thing.
Oh yeah.
I used the foam thing that came with it wasn't filtering out all my P's and stuff. This one does a much better job. So
okay. Yeah, no, you're still doing radio stuff too, right? Don't you do radios on Saturdays? What are you doing there?
Vibe 105 in Toronto. We do a reggae show. It's also radio.com. And we do a reggae show every Saturday night there. But kind of like podcasting, we pre-record it in advance now too, because ever since COVID, a lot of things have changed.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine. It's just been, even work is completely different than it was. Although this week is the first week it felt like we were 100% back. Not like 100% back at work, but like work was 100% back. Like I still have another day. I feel like I've worked a whole week already by Thursday, and I was like, geez, guys, slow down. Where have you been? So yeah, it's getting. Are you feeling that same? You feeling that same thing with your day job?
Well, I've been working from home for 15 plus years now, so this isn't nothing new, but a lot of people are back in the office, but there's a lot changing. So companies are starting to experiment with 4-day work weeks.
Yeah.
And I hope our company tries to pick that up, but my sister's company, they gave them the option, a 4-day work week. And it's not like you have to add extra hours. They were just 4 days.
Just 4?
So, just 4 days. Yeah. And I thought that was great.
I don't know what I do with myself, just to be honest. I mean, I complain about it, but I'd sit around here on Fridays like, what do I do now?
You could get a good mow in, like.
I mean, I could go out and get a mow. I like working. So So for me, I mean, there's times I kind of go, yeah, I've had enough. I need a break. But I
Yeah.
have the kind of job that if I need to, I can. I take breaks when I want to. It just feels like everybody, at least where I'm working at Gallup, everybody's engaged, everybody's busy.
Yeah.
We're back. This feels like pre-pandemic crazy, craziness going on here.
Well,
So
I just got my Gallup survey sent to me
yes.
like 10 times over the last week, you know.
Do you want me to give you the answers? Can I? I can
I,
tell you.
I already filled it in and submitted it,
Oh
you know, like
shoot.
management was all over me. Make sure you fill it out. So, you know,
Yeah.
we go through that too.
Next time, call me. I'll give you the answers. I know it's
All right, I'll remember that.
5.
How do I
You
get
guys
to the end?
you guys well, it shouldn't be that long, to be honest with you. Maybe I mean, you guys do engagement with us? Is that what you guys do? So they ask, like, do you have a best friend at work? Do you
Yes.
Yeah. You do have the right materials and equipment to do your job. Those
Yeah.
are our Q12 questions. So there's 12 core questions, and then they can add some around it. So you might get 25 to 30 in there, and but it goes pretty fast. Like, you should
Yeah.
have it done in about 8 minutes, so. But I can definitely give you the answers next time. So give me don't tell your management that. Yeah, I was talking to this guy Cal.
Yeah.
He said he could give me the answers.
I'll share it with my team.
Yeah, next thing I know, I'm going to get this call from our CEO. What are you telling our customers? So it's probably not a great idea. Well, having a mic, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think with Dan Lefebvre when he came on, having that great audio. I think it's even you work from home. Do you use that mic for work too, or do you have something different?
No, my work is just I have a headset, a Plantronics headset.
Okay, yeah.
So I use the Plantronics for work. I don't give them the good quality. You know, I
yeah.
save this mic
That's
for the good stuff.
still pretty good. I have a Plantronics here. No, I'm using a Jabra now. I had Plantronics first. Pre-COVID, we got Jabra headsets, and now I have a Logitech wired. No, yeah, Zone. I think it's called a wired Zone.
Okay.
And it's their newer ones. They're about $230. They're not cheap, and I really like it. I could get a little more audio back in my ears. When it's my own audio coming back through, like how we get, like, you're hearing your voice in full fidelity, right?
Yeah.
So am I in my earbuds. Those headsets don't often do that, and it can be a little frustrating because it's kind of like you're muffled, for most of the day on it. But that's the only thing I wish was I was different. Bob's got some advice for me. He says on my day off I could go shopping for meat and bourbon. That would be a great idea. Agent Crew picked up last week when I asked him about mead. He was like, "You know about mead?" And so we had a fun conversation with him. I could, Bob. That wouldn't be good for me. I already buy too much bourbon on Saturdays. I got it. This was one of those things. Sarah's looking at me like, and we used to be this way with hard drives. Like, don't you have enough? And do you ever have enough hard drives? No.
No.
Can never have enough hard drives. Doesn't matter how much. What do you think, Gavin, for folks maybe listening the first time meeting you? What do you think your total storage is there at your place? What do you have?
Live in my server, my Unraid server, I have 12 terabytes, but I have a
Good.
lot of terabytes scattered around the house running other storage. Like I have 4 terabytes in my Blue Iris box and, other things, right? And then I have a drawer that has a bunch of backup drives in there that are offline. Like they're just in case one dies. I have a whole drawer and there's probably another 8 terabytes just sitting in there.
Yeah,
so
beautiful. Yeah, just some hot swap. I have trouble with that. I have trouble with keeping drives hot because I leave them and then I'm like, oh, I could be using that. And so I deploy it into something. And then you're like, then you don't have a hot swap drive, and I'm not good at that. I have 83 terabytes with all the crypto stuff that's going on, and those will just fail. Those will kind of fail out. When was the last time you think a hard drive failed for you? Do you remember?
Yeah, actually, it happened a few weeks ago. Actually, one of my hard drives failed, and of course, I get a notification that it's offline, it's failed. And you know what? In Unraid, it couldn't have been any easier. All I ended up doing, shutting it down, pulling out the old drive, putting in the new drive. I started back up the array. It said, "Hey, you got a new drive in here. Do you want to rebuild it?" I let it rebuild. While it's rebuilding, everything else continued to work like normal. It was like nothing was happening. And I just let it go over the course. It took about, I think I want to say about 12 hours, maybe 12 hours to rebuild, right? That one drive, because it was only a 3 or 4 gig drive, a terabyte drive. And it couldn't have been any easier. I've been through it before.
Yeah, it is super easy. I think it's even an average tech guy thing. I have to admit to you though, and I feel bad about admitting this to you. I would have admitted it to Uyghur, but he quit on us. I'll admit it to you though, because you're the next like down, on down the chain, the Unraid, who understands it. I just took my Unraid box down. I was like, nah, I think I'm done for a while. Now, like Uyghur, I'll probably rebuild it into something else, but I don't currently have Unraid running in the house, which means my Home Assistant not working. And I almost set up Hubitat. I tried to get that working. It didn't work. I've had a string of things where I've tried getting them working and they just don't work. Right. That's not working. And I was like, well, maybe I'll install Home Assistant in Windows in a VM. Yeah, that didn't work very well either. And I was like, well, maybe I'll have to set up an Unraid box again. It's just so easy. 1, it's easy to set up. 2, it's easy to build. 3, it's easy to install VMs on that thing. Like, it's
Dockers.
just easy. Yeah, no, it's just super easy. So they're doing, I got to get John back on here over there at Unraid, but yeah, it's an easy one. In 2 weeks, Bob and Ryan are coming back on. We're going to spend some time talking about a new build. Those guys are going to give me some recommendations on a new build. You just did a rack setup, and I've considered doing rack. Like, I mean, that used to be ultra nerdy. But today, I think you can actually, with all our home automation stuff, you can almost justify a rack or a half rack or a wall-mounted rack. I think sometimes when we think of racks, we think of the full cage door like you would see in an enterprise. They don't have to be that way. I didn't bring the pictures over, but if you've got them local there and you can bring them up on your screen, what made you think, like, one, what made you go to a rack for a setup, and then what'd you put in the rack?
Well, the one thing that drives a lot of tech changes is the wife complaining about something, right? Like that's right off the bat. In my basement, I had a lot of stuff. I don't have a picture available right now for it, but I had a lot of stuff just in the corner of the basement,
right?
Just on random shelves. And, it looked messy. The wires were everywhere. Computers were everywhere. And, I was asked to clean it up. So I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for a rack. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a fancy rack with a door and everything. I got an open frame rack, and it's from Sysracks, right? It came in 100 boxes. I had to assemble it. It was bigger than I was actually expecting. I ordered a 32U. It was much bigger than I expected, but I filled it up. I was able to fill it up easily. It's expensive. Racks are expensive. The parts are expensive. And I even had to order some of the parts, like the shelves, from the States. It was cheaper to get them shipped from the States than sourcing them locally at times. So I finished the rack. It took me a long time to do because parts were coming in from all over the place, running wires, making it clean. I even mounted a monitor on there. Because I can hide things behind that monitor, and now it's done. It looks very clean.
Does it look anything? So on screen, we're looking kind of in an open. This is an Eco Gear open frame, similar to this.
Yeah, similar to that. The open frame, it just has the bars in it, right? And it's an adjustable, so I can adjust the depth if I needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm showing these are a 15 and a 20U, which look pretty big. You did a 32U, is that what you said?
Yeah, the one I have is about my height.
Yeah. So in its floor, it sits on the floor.
It's on casters, so I can actually roll it around as needed. Yeah. So it had some nice support.
What do you think? So in the setup of it, I mean, one of the nice things about about rack is it's just clean, but you got to work to make it clean. It just doesn't, the wiring doesn't do itself, right? The cabling doesn't do itself. Yep. You got to spend some time doing that. Do you enjoy that process? Was that something, I know some guys, and I'm kind of this way, I find great satisfaction in putting all of that stuff kind of together, and I just stare at it after I've done it. Did you enjoy that part?
Not really, but I'm also the type of guy. I'll be honest, not
That's
really.
not what I expected you to say.
Yeah. I'm the type of guy when before I start, I dream about the finished product, and I'm like, everything's gonna be hidden, wires are gonna be perfect, and then when I'm done, it looks nothing like what I thought I wanted, right? So the process, you cut your finger, you're doing this, you're fighting with length of wires. The good thing was while I was putting it together, I was showing pictures in our Slack channel for the home tech guys, right? And they were giving me little tips. They were like, oh, you could plug the wires in there and run them through the back, or you could do this, and I was like, oh, that makes sense, because they've done it over and over again. This was my first rack, right? So it was great to have them on board, and they helped a lot with that.
Yeah, I'm considering it for this next. I'm going to do a VR build.
Yeah.
So, and I'm considering it. Like I've got all this equipment around here, and yeah, it's PC, but I could get shelves, lay the PC down on shelves, get that all kind of consolidated into one area, all the wiring and all the batteries, all that kind of in one place. Get it up off the ground. It's not really on the ground, but get it kind of vertical. And so, yeah, but you're right. You're talking probably for a full rack like that. I mean, this one I saw on Amazon was $219 for the 20U. We're probably talking $500, probably maybe 600, maybe more. I don't know. What do you think?
It's
Because
the
Canadian, you
accessories.
probably paid $1 million for
Yeah.
in Canadian dollars, but
and they like, the rack itself wasn't too bad of a price, right? But where they rope you in is like, oh, you need a shelf now. In that case, yeah, the shelf's gonna cost you more than the rack. Oh,
That's
you're
true.
gonna need 3 shelves. Here's a slide out shelf that costs even more, right?
Yeah.
And then you see things that you don't have rack mounts for, and you're like, oh, now I need a power distribution, so I now gotta buy one of those, and then it builds up like that. And it starts off in your mind again. You think you're gonna spend maybe 300, 400. Nope.
$1,000 later.
Yeah. Just buy it in pieces.
Right. Yeah. Couple comments. Bob asks, did you use rack studs?
For sure. Rack studs, got rack studs in there. Yep.
And what's a rack stud?
Like it's the how can I explain how you mount the thing in the rack. Oh, okay. You use the rack studs, they go in the back, you screw into them. I'm really doing a bad job explaining it, but you get the idea. Holds it in. Yeah.
Uncle Marv says loves the Eco Gear. That's the one we just showed. Uses it for all his jobs now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think for most people, a 20U probably is good enough. I think I would need 2 of those actually to get everything, put together, and I could probably stack them and some of those kinds of things.
Well, some tips, one guy's was like, and I never ever thought of this because you just think of the front, right? But they were like, oh, you can mount that in the back, because it's not going all the way deep in the front. So you can find spots in the back. It doesn't have to be in the front. And I was like, oh, you just added to the number of U's I have, right? Yeah. So keep that in mind. If you got a 22U, you also have the back you can mount things in.
When you say that, do you mean like because it doesn't use the full width of the shelf for that when you say in the back?
Or? Yeah, so like my power distribution unit, like it only goes in so far. It's not using the whole depth of it. So then on the other side, I put the second one. So, I didn't use up a U in the front. Stuff like that. Like
yeah. Good way. I think, and the whole premise of this is we get a little more air, we get a little better airflow through it, like an open one, right? The enterprise ones that you've seen build, of course, they're kind of designed to route the cooling through them. So doors are closed and some of those things to kind of keep the cool air coming in through those. I often wonder, we've gotten more efficient, chips have gotten better, but have data centers gotten cooler or have they gotten hotter in the process? I kind of wonder. We did a lot of things to cool data centers. Microsoft took a data center and sunk it in the ocean and used ocean water to cool it, right? For a while. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but I wonder, data centers are hotter or cooler than they used to be. I don't know. But hey, Bob would know. Bob, what do you think? Throw that in the chat and let me know. Do you think data centers are overall creating more heat or less than they used to with some of the stuff that we have? Any other tips or tricks on if someone's thinking about switching over to a rack, anything you're like, oh, make sure you do this because it's important?
Just plan properly, because everything's gonna go, you know, you only have so many use, so you gotta plan what you want to put where. You know, like I have a dream machine that's not rack mountable. So also plan for maybe changing some equipment, because I'm gonna get a Dream Machine Pro and slide it in and rack mount that eventually, you know. But it's a lot of planning, you know, and you'll be sitting there thinking, and there's a lot of stuff on my rack that's not rack mountable. So what I did is when I put the monitor on the front, it swings out. I can put anything behind it, and I just hide all that stuff, right? So it makes it look cleaner.
Yeah. Did you have to buy a special monitor for it so it would fit the?
No, it was just a Visa mount on a like a special like mount, right? So I just used the monitor I had sitting around.
Yeah. Bob says hotter, so
Yep.
we'll take his word for it. And then he says more stuff computing it. More stuff is being done in them. What they tend to do is have a cold row of input on the front and a hot row of exhaust on the back for massive data centers. So it's been a while. For a while, I was in a role where I was in data centers all the time, getting to see some of these things. I think it's been a while since I've been in the Gallup data center. I used to go in there all the time. We'd give tours and stuff. And then I think with some security stuff, they really have locked that down to just a handful of people to be in the data center. And then really we moved most of our stuff, into the cloud. So there's less equipment there as well. You've also discovered some new smart home devices that I've never heard of. YoLink is one of them. And LoRa, am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, LoRa.
Yeah.
So LoRa is technology. It's short for long range, and it's basically like devices that can communicate over a long distance. So the technology allows devices to go as far as 3 miles or 5 kilometers in an urban area, or if you're in a rural area, you can go up to 10 miles. And not just that, but it also has a very good battery. So it uses very little energy when doing this. So I'm always was looking out for a way to monitor my pool temperature. Like I want to look at my phone and say, what's the temperature? But I also integrate it with my smart home. So I happened to come across this company, and they make something called YoLink. And it's a little hub, but it works with these LoRa devices over LoRaWAN. That's a tongue twister. But it works well. Like it has an open API. I was able to integrate it into my home and everything like that. And so I have one of their sensors they actually have with an external temperature sensor mounted in my skimmer, and it's telling me the temperature of the pool. And then I liked it so much because my pool, it's at the back of my house. The hub is in the front of my house, and they're able to talk to each other, and they're going through walls, cement, through water. It works. I have no problems with it. And then what I ended up doing was buying another temperature sensor and putting it in my deep freeze, right? Because my neighbor had his freezer. My neighbor had his freezer die on him, and he lost, his meats and stuff like that, right? So I was like, you know what? This is great because it works through the metal. It won't have any problems communicating. So I threw another one in there, and if it ever drops below a certain temperature or above a certain temperature, I get a notification, right? So it's great. And why I also liked it, it was very affordable. It wasn't that expensive, right? These devices, this YoLink device, you're looking at the starter kit right now.
Yep.
But they also have, I just bought the hub, and I bought 2 devices, and it wasn't that bad, right? I think is that the hub there?
I think that's
the speaker hub. And that also comes with 2 water sensors. So that, and even that's $54.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very affordable. So I added that to my whole smart home setup to add. So now I get reliable pool monitoring and my freezer monitoring. I might buy a few more.
Here's the hub with motion sensors in it. One of the things I was reading on there is 5-year battery life and 1/4 mile of range on the thing is what they had said on there. So super interesting. So what is it that's giving that? Like we're not used to these kinds of ranges and this kind of battery life. What's doing that?
It's the frequency I think that it talks on. They use I don't know how to explain it. Is it open frequencies or lower frequencies that allow them to get through things and not get interrupted and stuff like that. So hey, they do publish like 5 years, but I haven't even had it for 5 years. That's I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen other promises like that with other products and it wouldn't even last a year. So we will see. But so far it's been great.
So Bob says, wow, that's much less expensive than the Shelly Floods that he bought. It is John saying I have my former SmartThings water sensors in my freezer and fridge connected to Home Assistant. They transmit just fine, which is kind of crazy to think that the colder temperatures aren't good for batteries. And
no,
so,
you have to get a special battery. I can't remember what they call it, but that will handle the temperature better.
Yeah, he says he needs to figure out the alerts on it. There's a battery free way to make sure you won't get alerted, but everybody says, put an ice cube, put a glass of water and put a penny on top of the ice cube. And if you come back and the penny's on the bottom, you got to throw everything out, right? Everything thawed. But well, this is interesting. And you're getting the distance and the response that you're looking for, because I know with Wi-Fi, I'm just trying to push this. Just this week, I bought an Amazon Fire Stick for a TV that we put out on the deck, and it's just on the other side of the wall. I mean, my router is literally right here, and it's just going through a little concrete to get out to the deck. Yeah, it's not good enough. And I'm like, come on, So they don't have a Wi-Fi extender, do they? That would punch through.
No, just drill a hole, run a wire, do it that way.
No, though, the stick doesn't have I could, I guess, put an extender on the outside of the house. Yeah. I probably need to get that done. So what's it monitoring then? It's monitoring the pool.
Pool and my freezer. And I'll probably buy a couple for my wine fridge and maybe my regular fridge, because you just never know, right? The only downside I had with this product was it's cloud-based, right? So I'm not a fan of cloud-based products.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But to me, it's like these are okay. Like if the freezer were to die and the cloud's my internet's not gonna be down for so long, where I would, I'd be fine. I'd probably still catch it in time. And the pool temperature, if the internet's down, I don't really care about the pool temperature at that point, right? Well, maybe I should, because I'll jump in, but it had an open API, so integration with various systems was easy. So I liked it. It was really good like that. So of course I wrote my driver and everything like that, right?
How long did it take you? Gavin?
I kind of have it. I have it down to. You see, the thing with APIs and stuff, especially with Zigbee and Z-Wave drivers, a lot of the code is common. So writing the drivers, you just copy a lot of the same code. And same with a lot of these APIs. The calls, may change a little bit, but a lot of the code is common. So I copy a lot of it, and it makes it easier.
So we're looking at the YoLink page. They've got a lot of the things that you need. Motion sensor. It's got a garage door. In fact, they got 2 garage door kits. They have got, like you said, they got temperature sensors. They've got switches, right, that you can plug into. Do you think? So as you move in this direction, will you, as you start replacing things, they got leak sensors. Will you start replacing things with this and go with this? Is it good enough to do that for you?
No, not for me. I'm only using this as an add-on to my current setup, and I'll only add the devices that I'm okay if the cloud is down for whatever reason, for a few hours. I'm fine with that. Like I said, with my pool, but I won't replace my whole home setup. Most of my setup, I always think local first. And with anything in my home automation, I always aim for a local, but I'm also okay with certain things that are cloud-based. So my Echo B is cloud-based. I'm fine with that, right? It still runs if the internet. My Ratio is still cloud-based. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's and you've got a variety, right? I mean, and you've written drivers for him. You've automated them in Home Assistant and
Hubitat.
Hubitat.
Yeah.
Why not? Have you looked at Home Assistant, and why do you stick with Hubitat?
Well, Hubitat, I've been with them for a number of years, and I've learned to code in Groovy. I kind of know it inside out now. I know what I can do. It's actually, when you know how to code, it's a very powerful box.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize that all the drivers and all the apps that they release are just written in the same code that you write as well. They open up a lot of APIs. Their developers are there. They help you if you have any questions. It's really good like that. Now, Home Assistant at the time I started with Hubitat was still, you were messing with YAML files. You know, it was still, I gave it a shot. I got a little like, you know, for the amount of stuff I had to switch over, it wasn't really worth my time at that, especially when my home's working as it is now, right? I see Home Assistant, though, has come a long way. They're cleaning up. Their interfaces are nice. They have a huge following, and they seem to be growing a lot. So I'm going to give it another, you know, I'll check it. There's a way you can tie Home Assistant into Hubitat. So I can have Home Assistant running with devices on that, and it just communicates with Hubitat. So I'll give it another look eventually. I'm waiting for it to settle down, though.
Yeah. I think we're getting close to that
Yes.
spot. I have an older Hubitat. Have they released new hardware, new gear? Like if I have one, I've had, I don't know, 3 years, maybe 3-4 years I've had my Hubitat. Is that not going to run some things? Am I in a spot where that I may have to upgrade?
Not really. If you're looking, you have the C7 or the C5,
Oh,
I'm
that's a
thinking.
good question.
Yeah, because the C7 had the 700 chip,
Okay. May have to
Z-Wave
talk
chip in it.
offline.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I'm trying to bring it back online. I've had some trouble with it, so, you know.
for the most part, for most people, you don't have to upgrade unless there's specific features you need in the C7. You don't have to upgrade, but for the, you know, it will work with Z-Wave and Zigbee and Wi-Fi and all that stuff the same way.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about Home Assistant is it literally just found everything. Like I didn't have to in my setup, I really didn't have to do anything. It just found it and said, "Hey, we've got this. Do you want to use it?" Yes. And
Yeah,
then the dashboards were so much better on Home Assistant than they were on Hubitat. Like I had this really slick looking dashboard that I'd put on my Surface that I could, you know, turn the lights on and off with, and you know,
yeah.
kind of do some cool stuff on it. So has Hubitat's dashboards gotten any better? Are they?
Not really. I would say I actually use something called Sharp Tools
Okay.
as my dashboard, and that Sharp Tools actually is much nicer, much cleaner, lets me do integration. And I designed the Sharp Tools is how we interface with all the devices, and I designed it, the look of it and everything, and we actually use it on both our phones to control everything, and it gives me a status of everything I want. So, you know, if she's what windows are open, it will show me all the open windows, and then I can go and close them, right, and stuff like that, right? I wish they would put more time into their dashboard, but I don't think it's their priority right now.
Yeah.
They're still pretty young, right? And they're working on some pretty big things right now in the beta that will come out soon, and that will actually get some people excited.
That's good. I'll have to. I'm kind of getting back, you know, since I tore down Unraid, and I was like, well, can I replace Home Assistant? You know, and then I had some trouble getting it running, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just go to my Hubitat. So I plugged that in. It wouldn't come up right away, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't have time to mess with this right now. I'll have to get this figured out. But I do miss, since I took Unraid down, I miss the Home Assistant dashboard that would show me how much ink is left in my ink cartridges. You'd be surprised how cool you look when you're the guy who replaces the ink cartridge before it runs out, right? Or you've got one on hand, like, oh yeah, I picked one up at Walmart, you know, or whatever. Like you look super smart. I think the other thing that was super helpful was the battery levels on a Ring. So
Yeah.
the front door is not to the point where it's charging. I'm on battery because the way the sun moved, it's not getting recharged. So I have to keep swapping the batteries out. And it was nice to know it was getting low. Although I think I have a bad battery too. I got one that goes from like 60% to 6 in like a day.
Yeah.
It's like, that battery's probably bad. So I do miss the dashboards, and I may try to figure out how to get back on Home Assistant to make it work.
Yeah, I have apps that I wrote that monitor all that stuff. So I can see battery levels. It warns me when they start to get low, so I can take them in advance. It warns me when devices are offline. You know, the coolest thing, I think the one thing people are most impressed by is the camera setup, because the TV will be on, someone rings the doorbell, it pops up in the corner of the TV, and they love that, you know, from my Harmony remote, I press a button, it shows me all the outside cameras or all the inside cameras, and that's on all the TVs in the house. And whenever they ask me, you know, can you do that for my house? I'm like, you know what?
No. Because one, you're not going to know how to fix it when it breaks, and I don't want you to call me.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, I've always learned. I used to show all this stuff off. You got to try this, and then you get these phone calls in the middle of the weekend. Oh, it's not working.
Yeah.
So I just don't show anybody anymore. No, I don't care. Go figure it out on your own, because I'm not interested in being your tech support on that one. So, you mentioned, you mentioned the security and being able to bring that up on your TVs and such. You had mentioned in the notes that Blue Iris is, you're a Blue Iris user, right? And I think Uyghur's talked about this from time to time. We've talked about Deepstack, but talk a little bit. There's some integration going on, or some replacement going on of their recognition. Talk a little bit about that.
So Blue Iris uses something called used to use something called Deepstack for all their object detection, their AI local object detection, and it worked pretty well. But they recently announced that they were gonna, they're getting rid of Deepstack, and they were bringing in a new product called Code Project AI Server, and it pretty much looks the same, but I guess on the back end code, it's so much better. So when it comes to detection of people, animals, cars, whatever, it's so much faster, right? Like from the time someone starts to walk up my driveway, I almost get like a notification right away, because it says, oh, there's a person walking up your driveway, or my dog goes out the back, the lights come on right away, because it's like, oh, there's a dog here, right? So it's great.
What did you have to actually do to make the switch?
Because we run Unraid, everything's in the Docker. So I was running Deepstack in the Docker. So all I had to do was shut down that Docker and spin up the Code Project Docker. It uses the same API, it uses the same ports, it uses everything. So once you spun it up, it pretty much just picked it up and continued where it left off. I mean, there were a few tweaks here and there I had to make, but like you're looking at like 1/4, of the speed, detection time. So if it took 200 milliseconds to detect something, it's now doing it in like 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's cool. So it's pretty easy to do. And do you ever sit there and watch the detection, or do you just watch it in the replay? Because I know some of those times it puts a box around it, right?
Yeah.
And then shows you what it is and those kinds of things. That's kind of addicting. That's like watching YouTube reels sometimes, right?
It is. I don't rely on that too much, because it keeps saying my dog's a cat. So I need a bigger dog.
Not happy about that. Like,
no, he gets mad. But
peeing on it.
It's a lot more reliable, I found. And yes, sometimes when you're troubleshooting, you can actually replay a video in Blue Iris and then see what the detection was doing and what they were detecting or what they weren't detecting. And I had to tweak it a bit to ignore certain things and this and that, but now it's running really well, and I like the new setup they have.
Do you find with that, like, here's what I find: sometimes we set up these complicated systems and we get them working the way we want them, and then you think like, oh, I don't have to, I can just let it be. But then like months go by, something breaks on it, and you're like, oh, how did I do that again? Right? Type deal. And you got to go back. Does that happen to you?
A lot. And usually when I figure out stuff, I'll add it to my OneNote page or something like that. So, or a little summary of how it ties in together, just so I can read that and get an idea again. But usually things break because of an auto update. Like they updated the Docker and now it's like, oh, this breaks and you got to figure out why and stuff like that. So it is a full-time tech job sometimes.
I know. And I'm getting less patient with some of that. I don't know why. I used to so much like to tinker, And today I don't know, the tinkering has gotten to be a little less in, my, like, it's like, hey, I set this thing up. I just wanted to keep well, let's talk Home Assistant for a second. Let's go back to Home Assistant. You said they're getting better, they're doing more things. Yeah, but they're also releasing an upgrade every single month. And you
Yep.
get this, oh, hey, .9 is available. I just installed .8 like yesterday, it feels like anyways. So on my Unraid box, that upgrade was really slow. So it would go offline, do its thing, it update, come back, and I was always like, it's never, because my Unraid box was not very powerful. I was never very sure if it was actually doing anything. You kind of kick it off and you're like, okay, I'll come back and check it in 10 minutes, type of thing. And it got to be almost too much. It'd be like if you had to update your iPhone every month type deal.
Yeah.
16 is out, right? And this, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not gonna. When the .1 release comes out, I think that's when I'm gonna make the upgrade. I just don't I don't want to. So I don't know. Maybe I should kick myself off my own show for not being, right, more kind of gadgety upgrading kind of new things. But there is that moment, I don't know, there is that moment where you just kind of get frustrated and you're like, that's kind of where I was with Unraid. I was kind of like, I don't know, if so many things to keep track of on this. I don't know if I want it to be a full-time thing. I just want it to work.
I had a rant this week. This is in our show notes, but I had a rant this week of my my TV. I have an LG C1 TV, and it seems like every time I turn that TV on now, it's bringing me some prompt to, like, this week was a new EULA I had to agree to, or upgrade this app. And I'm really hating this smart TV because I don't use any of the smart stuff in it, right? And the worst part about it is because I use a Harmony remote, the remote's programmed to the HTPC, not to the TV. So you can't even answer those questions on the remote. So I had to, the wife calls me and she's like, well, how do I get rid of this dialogue? And I said, you know what? Turn off the TV and go upstairs, watch the other TV. Like, I hate that. Yes. You see, Bob. Yeah. To get out of that, I deselected. I didn't agree to anything, and it disabled a whole bunch of stuff on me. Like, these smart TVs are just getting like ridiculous, but I don't want to unplug it because I want the updates. Because they've released some updates for that fix certain things. But if I unplug it, I don't get those updates, and I don't want to manage my TV.
Well, like, so Bob says like this. He says, make a folder in a cloud drive, link it to something like Notepad++, and back up your configs and instructions to. Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's too much. I don't want it.
Documentation. No one writes documentation.
I'll forget my own. I'll forget my own setup, and I'm like, how did I configure that again? Uncle Marv says Skynet is coming.
Yep.
It is like the NVIDIA Shield had gotten this way for a while, because I don't use the Shield as much. So it seemed like every time Sarah would be like, okay, I can't get to channels, and I'd go out there and it was an update, right? That was like waiting or whatever. I'm like, God, I think I just updated this thing. And then, or Android, they're like, on Android, they just decide to do things for you. Nope, we're going to do it this way now. Sorry, you didn't read the long release file on this, thing. And you're like, oh, what? Wait, what? Stop doing that. You're breaking things. You're breaking Plex. They like to break Plex all the time. I don't know why, but the Android likes to seem to mess that up. So yeah, I got to kind of figure out, because I'm with you. I've got all this home automation. It's a little bit different, like Philips for my lights.
Yep.
I got some Govee stuff for the cigars. I've got some Wi-Fi enabled lights. I forget who makes those. I got a garage door thing. I forget who makes it.
And you probably have 10 different apps to control them.
Yeah. Well, I have a TP-Link for TP-Link plugs, right? I got all this different. That was kind of what was nice about Home Assistant, is it seemed to find all those things and unify it and bring it together and make it fairly simple for me. But you're kind of talking me back into maybe I just need to rethink my Unraid box, where it's on newer equipment. The drives are accessible, because I did have a drive go bad. And then I was like, well, I don't know what drive that is, because I didn't document it. So that means I got to take it down. It's like, okay, I could probably build, what's the minimum? 4 drives on Unraid, or can I do 3? 3 in cache?
You need a parity drive pretty much. You could do like 2 drives, I think, if you wanted.
Okay.
Oh no, you need your cache drive as well, so 3
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Could I just virtualize the whole thing? I know that seems a little stupid, but I want to run Unraid. I don't need all the storage. You know?
You don't like Unraid is nice because you could do as little as you want because my backup server is actually all it is one drive in there. It runs
Yeah.
Unraid, but it's one drive. If
Right.
that drive fails, that's fine. It's just backups, right? I'll swap
Right.
it, I'll put it in another drive and kick off another backup, right? So you could do as little as you want or as much as you want. It's that customizable.
Yeah. Yeah. Something to build over the weekend. It's another weekend project, right? To get
Yeah,
the thing.
by time, yes.
Bob says, I listen, I have plenty of time. It's not, it's weird. I just don't want to. Like, I used to really enjoy all that troubleshooting, but I don't know. I have less patience, maybe. Bob
My
says
Unraid
two
is
drive minimum.
I don't spend much time anymore on my Unraid in
Yeah.
terms of supporting it.
Yeah.
I have it email me a lot of stuff when things go bad, so I get ahead of drive failures now. I try to get ahead of them. So if I'm getting certain errors, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna swap that drive out. I'll use that drive in the backup computer, for example, and I'll put in a good drive and go forward with that, right?
Yeah. I'd like to get a cage that almost looked like a NAS cage where the drives are on the outside so you can label them and see them. And then I would think a fairly efficient modern chip, probably an Intel chip for it, that's low power. So when it's not running, it's not taking very much, but enough power that it can run the things that I want it to run, the Dockers or the VMs that I want to run on it.
Go with cores. If you're looking at chips, my advice is get
Okay.
more cores,
Okay.
right? Because then you can dedicate cores to certain things. So I have 12 cores in mine. I have 4 cores dedicated to a VM that runs Blue Iris and
Right.
various other things, and then it doesn't interfere with the other 8 cores that run all my Dockers. I have like 20 or 30 Dockers
Okay.
running, so they don't interfere with each other, right? And so I'm
That's
always say get more cores.
advice. So what do you have? Which chip do you have? What are you running on there? Do you know?
It's a
Okay.
Xeon E5 29. I can't remember,
So
2970.
not very power friendly though. That the
No,
Xeons are pretty, aren't they?
it's good with power and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's I just got a precision computer.
Okay.
The computer was probably from 2012, I think. And I ended up just
Oh,
upgrading the chip. I got the chip from California. You know, it's cheaper to get from
yeah.
California, pay like $100, and now I have 12 cores, 24 threads, and that's what I'm running in. It runs everything on there.
Okay. Yeah. Something to think about. The box that I was running it on's fairly old. I mean, it was a Core i3 540, so first gen Core i3,
Yeah.
probably 12 years old, and I mean, it worked, just not great, It's like there's 4 gig of RAM on that thing, and
You
So
want to
anyways,
throw more RAM in there, yeah.
yeah, no, right on, right on. Yeah, no. It's just get a more a more the Bob and Ryan over at Think Computers always dog me because I make stuff last forever. I literally make it run till it just is dust, and it's just the way I am. So don't judge me. You speaking of that of backups, you recently switched your backup provider from Crash Plan to iDrive. I didn't expect to see that. Why the change?
Well, first of all, I've been Crash Plan for years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just their app was just a headache, right? Like it was just failing and backups were failing and I couldn't it seemed like it was constantly like what was it doing? It does this process it runs and it seemed like it was just constantly doing a cleanup process and I couldn't figure it out and I just got so fed up of it that I was like, you know what, let me look around. And I looked at all the popular ones, the Backblazes, etc.,
Mhm.
etc.
Mhm.
And I came across this iDrive and I've never really heard of them before, but I was like, for the price they were charging for the amount of storage I needed, I looked at their app. So some of the backup software, they wouldn't do things like allow you to back up off of a network share because I would run the app in a VM, but I have a drive map to my Unraid server and I want to back up that stuff. But you'd be surprised, a lot of those apps didn't even let me do that, right? So iDrive let you do this. Their app met all my, requirements for the price, everything. I just said, you know what, let me give them a shot. So I went with them, and it's been working. Every morning I get an email that says your backup's complete. We backed up this much data. You're good, right? There was a period when it was failing on a couple files. I contacted support. They told me what it was. I deleted those files. I didn't need them anymore, and I was back in business. But keeping an eye on it whenever there's a successful backup was important to me, because when it does fail, you don't want to find out it was failing for 3 months when you need to restore something too, right?
Mm-hmm. How have you tested a restore?
My backup, all I want to do is be able to restore files if I need.
Okay.
Right.
So you're not trying to do bare metal or any of those kinds
no,
of things.
all my computers back up to my backup server as bare metals backups, and I've actually restored to that. But when I'm backing up to online, it's just files. So if I need a file, I've gone on there and just grabbed the file to get it back, right? So it does that.
So they have a personal and a team plan. They're typical $80 and $100 a year for their storage. What did you get, and how are you doing it?
I can't remember because this has been a while now what I was paying for, but I know I got it for a deal.
Okay.
So you always take advantage of that deal, and even after that deal was up, it was still working out cheaper than Crash Plan for me. I think I have the personal one for 5 terabytes because
that's pretty generous for 5 terabytes, right?
And unlimited computers, but I only run it on one computer. But I'm up in I only do about 1.5 to 2 terabytes, I think.
Yeah.
Are up there, and that's it.
Well, a lot of folks are on the Crash Plan Unlimited, right? Because it was unlimited, right? And I know, and I would say even today, this was, we had all those problems with Crash Plan, and they changed their plans, and a lot of people left them. I ended up going to Backblaze, and it's been great. I've on B2, and I'm not using it. Although I've been using Acronis Cloud the plan I have gives me 500 gig. And that's actually enough for the Mac and my wife's computer for the files we actually need. That's not everything, but it's like the computers we use every day, 500 gigs enough, right? And then Backblaze for the podcast stuff and all of those pieces. But don't you think for most people, it's not unlimited, but 5 terabytes, that'll probably get you most of the way there, don't you think?
Most people don't have a lot of data when they sit there and look at it. They won't even get close to the 5 terabytes. You're going to get those people that do photography, for example, where they have drives full of pictures that they want backed up. Those people are rare, and you're going to have those that will want to back up all their movie files and stuff too, where I'm kind of like, I don't back that stuff up, because if I have to, I'll just re-rip them. But you have some people that are like, I don't want to spend the time. Let me just back it up. And then you'll fill up that 5 terabytes pretty quickly at that point. But I back up the important stuff, like code, documents, important stuff like that, right? I get that up there, right? And I have like some DJ music audio that I have to back up. That's probably the largest piece of it from over the years. So that's even I'm not reaching that 5 terabyte.
Yeah. Well, I tried to back up bare metal. Right. All the time. Right. Full image, back it up. I never used it. And even when I did, I screwed it up. So I started thinking, I'm just going to do file base. I'm going to think files and make the assumption I'm never going to restore a PC from scratch. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to reload it, and then I'm going to bring the files back over. I think you act a little bit differently with the way you store things when you do it that way versus bare metal restore, because you just save things differently. But Gavin, that's actually been successful for me. That has worked for me way better, just making sure I got file storage and I can go back and restore individual files. So blow it away, throw Windows back on it, restore what I need, done deal, right? I just find that to be easier, and that actually works for me.
Yeah, in the end, it all comes down to what works for you. You have to find, some people are aware of where their files are being saved, where they're finding a lot of the younger generation don't even know where their files are saved anymore.
It's true.
Studies are showing that they just know you go here and you open the file, but they don't know where that file actually sits on the drive, right?
Or it's even a file. Like,
yeah,
where's it saved? Oh, my TikTok drive. Like
exactly. Like I just
drive.
click to here and it shows my name, and I click on that, and the document
Yeah.
opens, right?
Yeah.
So, what works for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you back up your phone?
Yes. So my phone, I actually bought the iCloud plan.
Yeah, I did too.
So
Yeah.
I actually share it with my mom and my sister, the wife, and I have all their phones backing up to it. I can't see their files or anything like that. It just
Right.
it's backup, and it's just, for safety. If I'm gonna buy the plan, I might as well share it with everybody. And then
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
bonuses, you get to share apps as well. So if I buy an app, they can get download the app as well, right? So, but for photos, every now and then I'll go through and I'll empty out my photo library, my camera, right? And I use an app called, what's it called again? It's PhotoSync,
Mm.
right? And I just launched the app, and it does a sync to my Unraid server, a share on my Unraid server. And then when my phone plugs in or gets power again, it syncs through iTunes wirelessly, and it syncs it back into my photo library on the phone. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically, I'm getting it from the camera library to the photo library, right?
Yeah.
But I clean it up and stuff too, so I'll have the important photos on there. The rest of it sits on my Unraid box.
You can literally on your phone have pictures going to like 7 different places and
Yes.
not know it, right? You can have Google Drive, you can have Amazon, I think still is doing this.
Yeah.
You can do it to the iCloud, you can do it to OneDrive. You can, like, if you use those services and they're like, "Hey, you want to back up your photos?" Yeah. I'm kind of getting to the point. God, I'm getting old. This is the problem. Again, Gavin, I'm getting really old. But I'm kind of getting to the point where I don't care about my pictures anymore. I'm kind of like, I know this sounds bad, but like, I mean, I take them and I post them places where I want people to see them. But I got so many pictures of things that, like, I don't like. I just don't know if anybody cares enough about my pictures that, like, both my mom and dad have passed away in the last 8 years, and we've gone through all their stuff. And my my mom had reams of binders of pictures that we literally went through one more time, and then,
I know what you mean.
and you're like, she held on to that stuff for years, hoping we would enjoy it. And we did. Don't get me wrong, we did. Everybody feels a little bit differently about this. And so I know some of you are screaming at me right now in your car, like, no, like the kids. Yeah, I'm not even sure the kids like the pictures we took of them when they were kids. We've got some albums around, but I don't know. I'm not as, I think sometimes we think we can't miss a single picture. And sometimes I want to go, God, live in the moment for a second.
Yeah.
Like, don't be so worried about your pictures and the videos and stuff that you're getting distracted from what's actually important, which is you're there in the moment. I don't know. That's just, again, maybe I'm Scrooge. I'm just getting to be an old curmudgeon.
I feel the same way too, because when I look at my camera roll, it's a lot of pictures of serial numbers and things.
Yeah,
if you think about a serial
For me,
number
it's
or how that
cigars.
wiring was done or stuff like
Yeah.
that, or my dog, but it's never of like anything else in the moment, right? Like it's all just, I just need a picture of that so I could take it over here, right? Like,
Yeah. No, that's right. I do the same thing, like, or I can't see it. So I put my phone out and expand it, take a picture.
Okay,
So then I
that's when
can
we're
blow it
getting
up
old.
again.
Yep,
Right?
exactly.
You're like, oh, I can't see that thing, which is just
Cool.
super handy. I walk the cemetery every day here in Bellevue. It's just it's a hilly, very convenient place to walk. But I've also gotten in the habit of there's a grave finder. I think it's called findagrave.com. People can submit requests like, can you go take a picture of this grave? It's here. And so we go find them and then take pictures of them, right? So my phone has a bunch of random headstones in it, right, where we've taken pictures. And you start scrolling through it and you're like, bourbon, cigars, granddaughter, graves. You're like, what are you doing with your life? And you're like, hey, listen, my phone pictures don't look as bad as they appear, but no, they are actually pretty bad. I got some sunsets, in the mornings lately. I'm walking between 6 and 7. And so that's when the sun's coming up, and it's beautiful. So you take a few pictures, and so I don't know, it is, We also, and there's some stuff going in the chat room. Joe says one thing I love about Android is it's synced to my local server without having me to do anything. So
Yep,
great.
the
I've
app
got
I
it.
use does that too, right? You can make
Yeah.
it automatic if you want to. Yep.
Awesome. So you got an 8 places in the cloud, and then one on, one. You also have a local copy that
Yeah.
nobody's going to be able to find.
One thing I like about the sync services, though, when you look at iCloud and Google, is when they make those montages. So in your case, it would be a montage of headstones, probably, and with a little music behind it, right? But we've gotten a few of those montages where it's like over the years, you and your furry friend, and it would be pictures of you and the dog, and I actually sit there, and you get like, I remember that, and it gets a little emotional. You're like, oh yeah, when he was a puppy. I like those.
No, I agree with you. Those are actually really helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's creative, right? It's different than just your pictures. But like there's a section where my granddaughter was over, and we were just literally doing selfies, her and I, with her head here. And like I figure I'll take 30 pictures and one of them will be really good. And I'll delete the rest. No, I didn't delete the rest. They're all there. They're all there. Somebody,
good.
Why do you have 30 pictures with your granddaughter? That's just what we did. We just took those pictures. So it is. For a while too, when I had the Drobo running, I had things backing up to the Drobo. I had all these pictures backing up to the Drobo. I had them on the Drobo. I had them on the Unraid server. I was backing them up to OneDrive. So they were not only were they going to OneDrive, but then they were downloading to all of my computers that had OneDrive on them. So I was, there's like 9 different places where they're at. And so it's a little ridiculous. I get why we do it, but it is a little ridiculous. I got 500 because of the plan I bought on Acronis. I got 500 gig. I was like, well, might as well use it. I got it. Might as well use it. So backing up there, and I am doing some local backups as well, which even though I just said I don't do bare metal, and I guess I could, right? Acronis is kind of known for their bare metal restore. It's pretty good, but I still probably would never use it.
I've used the bare metal restore a few times. Like I have every computer in my house back up to my backup server, and it's using the internal Windows backup. And I've actually had a drive fail, and then I just pop it out, pop in a new drive, a Windows 10 USB, and then restore the image, and it would boot up like normal. So as long as you're backing up, as long as you have a backup and that backup's good, like at least your data's safe.
Yeah. I think I care less about my data these days. I get like, whatever. It's not that important. I don't know. It's kind of, but yet I'm still doing it, right? I'm still doing it. A couple comments coming in the chat room. Bob had said earlier, the biggest thing is using a server chip. We're talking about Unraid here for a second. So using a server chip instead of a consumer chip is a number of PCIe lanes that you get for controllers. An i3, 5, 7, and i9, I think. Or he said i7 twice, so it doesn't matter. Have like 20 servers, workstations have like 40 and support ECC memory. So that maybe, is worth thinking, right, about if for this, I could probably, if I was going to buy an Unraid box, maybe I would buy an old server board and put it in something, in another case that had the setup that I wanted for the drives. So that might be an option. Thoughts on that?
You'll get into, I was looking at old servers and stuff like that, but then I think you get into more power requirements with some of them, or they get louder, the fans you'll have to start dealing with. So my setup's all in the basement, so luckily I don't have to hear it, and it's naturally cooled. I'm good with that. The one thing I want to get though is I want to get like rack mounted, just a bunch of discs. And I've been doing some research because right now I have 2 eSATA like external drive bays, but I want to rack mount something. So I kind of wanted to get like a little chassis where I could put in like 8 to 12 discs in it. But then I just don't know how the interface would work back to the computer at that point. I'm still researching it. So that's my next probably upgrade to the rack.
Yeah. Yep. Dan says, been a long time since I've used anything Acronis. Good to hear they're still in the game. Yeah, they're actually getting, much like you said with Home Assistant, they're kind of getting popular right now. And they're doing a lot of stuff. They've added a lot of stuff to their software. They've done a lot of engineering to it. So it's pretty good stuff. I've liked it. And they've built in some antivirus, anti-malware, ransomware stuff into their software as well. So it's not a bad protection solution. If you're going to use them for backup, you kind of get it all in one. So Bob says workstations equal quieter servers on desktops.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then he says servers like 1U and 2U screaming fans are designed to be in a room that you tend to need hearing protection on. Yeah, you don't. Their fans are industrial grade. They're not intended to be quiet home fans, right? They're intended to be in a server room that nobody cares how loud it is in there. So yeah, certainly some research. I guess I could dig into it a little bit more and see if I want to rebuild my Unraid server or do something. I really would prefer, to be honest, just to virtualize it. They've got a VM for it. And I probably just need to figure out. I think I'm going to need some different hardware to do that, but I'd rather kind of just
Virtualize Unraid.
No, sorry. Home Assistant. I really need Unraid.
Yeah.
I need Unraid for Home Assistant.
Yes,
that's right. And so you're like, and
well, you can run Home Assistant two ways. You can run it as a Docker, and it's really easy if you just do it as a Docker.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can run it as a virtual machine, which is a little more complicated to set up. I would just run the Docker. I mean, there's reasons why you do one over the other, so you might want to look into that. Yeah. But when I was playing with it, I just ran the Docker, and it took me no time to set up.
Okay, I have to. Again, I need to spend more than 5 minutes. Look,
a little more. Yeah,
I'm tapping out. I'm gonna go take a nap. Gavin, anything else? Anything else new or anything else I missed off the notes that you think is important?
No, we covered it all, and it was a good talk. Like a whole bunch of random topics. No,
it's fun. Although they all kind of fit together. This is one of those. I really kind of like to go through people's stuff, and then other people learn. Like they listen to that and like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, and I do too. Every time I have you on, it gets me rethinking my Unraid storage. We talk a lot about that, right? Home automation gets me rethinking it. Like, well, I should probably. I've had a lot of success. It really is. If you have the Google or the Amazon infrastructure, that's actually drop dead pretty simple, right? Everything fits into that. Pretty much into that ecosystem, and you just say it and it just does it.
If you're gonna rethink your automation or home automation, just give it a few months. Let that one sit for a few months. And the reason why I say that is because Matter's just around the corner. So Matter has a bunch of promises. I don't know what it's gonna live up to yet, but let's see what happens with that, because it's gonna probably change some things in the industry, make your decisions a little different. So, put that on the back burner for probably 3 months or so.
Okay.
iOS 16.1 beta just released or just came out recently, and it had hints of Matter in it. So it's close to coming out. Okay. It's close.
Tell me what, so you say Matter, and I think of brain matter.
What's
okay, Matter?
Yeah. Matter is the new home automation, I guess, protocol standard that's going to let all these big companies like Google and Amazon jumped on it, and it's going to let them all their devices talk to each other. Right. Okay. So the whole promise is that once it's Matter certified, you'll be able to use whatever dashboard you want. You'll be able to, they'll all communicate and work together. This is the promise. Okay. Right. Yeah. We're already seeing signs of companies kind of putting in ways that they're gonna hinder it in a way. Like I heard with SmartThings, like SmartThings could be a Matter controller, but it won't expose certain SmartThings devices back into the Matter ecosystem. So it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of not what we want here. We want everything just to talk to each other and work with each other. So when it gets released, we're going to see how the big companies have decided to lock us into their little ecosystem, where they'll import Matter devices, but they won't export the Matter devices. I don't know. But that being said, it's around the corner, and it's going to change a lot of things. So,
well, I tell you what, if the Amazon infrastructure allowed me a dashboard that I could put all this, like the Home Assistant dashboard, it'd be game over. I would have no reason to go to, like, I just really want a good dashboard where I could see, yes, like let's use the printer ink. I use that in the very beginning. I do use that feature. And yes, Amazon will say to me, hey, you need it printer ink. It'll tell me that. I don't need to go to a dashboard. It'll tell me that. I don't want it
Yeah.
that way. I want to see it on a dashboard, right? I now it wants me to buy it, so it's always saying like, "Hey, well, I can refill this for you." You would think that'd be terribly convenient. I don't trust it for some reason.
You think it's going to order the wrong thing or give you the most expensive version of it. That's how I feel. And even worse with Amazon, I was reading this week that they're going to start introducing ads into their replies and stuff like that too now. Once if they start doing that, it drives me nuts. I'm going to get rid of all my Amazon devices. I don't want, when I ask it to do something, I don't want to say, by the way, well, it's already doing that, right? But I mean, if it gets even worse and starts doing ads, no.
Remember in the Truman Show, every time they would he'd be like, "Oh, I'm cold," and she'd be like, "I can make you some hot chocolate," and then she'd show that
it was an ad. Yep.
And he was like, "Why are you doing that? You're that's funny, right?" I think we may get to that point where the ads coming in. By the way. And I'm getting some of those suggestions. I got a notification the other day that, hey, your printer ink's low. I can order that for you. I think maybe I should just let it do it once and see, because how much more can it really be? And then just kind of compare. If it's, sometimes we spend $5 to save a nickel. Yes. And you're like, so I've got, Dan brings up a good point. Hey, a lady, what's the weather? We do say that from time to time. And then the answer is, today's weather brought to you by the Weather Channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Visit theweatherchannel.com and get all your all your weather needs, whatever, and Bob says, you've ever said, you never have a second cup of coffee. Would you like to increase your subscription to that? And I use Nespresso, and actually that would be one of those kinds of things. Like, the A lady can detect, you can put it in guard mode. And if the glass breaks, if there's glass breaking or those kinds of sounds, it'll alert you, right? I need it like when the Nespresso pod drops in it counts that for me. Like, and then it says, hey, you're running low on coffee. You might need to reorder. Now I say that, but then I don't trust it. Like, I'm impossible.
You'd be surprised. I was actually looking at something like this, and it's like it's like an Amazon scale, but of course I can't find it now. But it basically it knows the weight of the product, so you can put like toilet paper on it, and then when the weight gets below a certain point, it will reorder it for you automatically, send you a notification. So Amazon has products that do things like that for you automatically.
Yeah, I know.
Your Nespresso could get auto reordered.
I just don't trust that. Like, I should. I should trust it. Like, I've gone in and made worse shopping decisions when it's going in to buy something, like, oh, I need to and then I end up leaving with a whole bunch more stuff. Yeah. So I can't even trust me. All right. Well, let's end it on that, because I can't even trust me. So on that, a couple reminders. Gavin, first of all, thanks for coming out. Thanks for being a friend and representing HomeTech.fm really, really well here on Home Gadget Geeks.
Oh, thank you.
We'll encourage folks, if you haven't added that to your podcast list and you're interested in home automation, all those things, you should head over there and subscribe right now. HomeTech.fm is probably the easiest way. I'm sure there's links to get that done, or search for that in your favorite podcast app. And Gavin, thanks. Can you hang tight for just a second? Are you okay?
For sure. I'm good with time. Yep.
Couple reminders on the way out. One, big thanks for Patreon subscribers. I said it in the beginning, but I do appreciate you guys. If you want to support the show in the way, we just have one easy $5 plan, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. If you haven't got the coin, I've got a few of those I can even mail out to you if you want to jump on that as well. See what else. Oh, big thanks to Christian over there, Maple Grove Partners. If you get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting, if you need a place to host something, anything, he's really good on the WordPress side of things, but he can do just about anything. The WizKid will do it for you. Head out to maplegrovepartners.com, and plans are still $10. He hasn't raised his prices, so not for now. So you might want to jump in there, and plans are $10. Join our Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. A nice, quiet group, but very, very helpful. And they won't spam you over there, but good conversations, deals from time to time, home automation. The networking section in Discord is kind of like just what we talked about tonight. It kind of is just a really fun area to go out and learn a lot from you guys. If you want to leave a voicemail message for me, if you got a question or a comment, homegadgetgeeks.com. There's a blue record button in the bottom right-hand corner. You can do that as well. If you do leave me a message, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, just so I go and check that. I don't get a lot of them, so it could sit for a while if you don't. Again, jim@theaverageguy.tv. All right, I think that's it. We're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Next week, we did have Dave from Mac Geek Gab coming on, but he had to move. I may take next week off. I've got some family coming to town, and I just may take it off. The week after that, Ryan and Bob, I need to give them their homework. I've been saying this, but I haven't told them that they're going to help me pick computers. So I better email them this week and be like, hey, I want some recommendations from you guys. I don't want it over the top, but I want some good stuff. So I'm going to put Bob against Ryan, and I want you in chat just kind of watching these two duke it out. I want their recommendations. So I'm going to say, Ryan, what do you think? And Bob, what do you think? And then hopefully they'll fight. That's what I'm kind of hoping for on the show. Get the best possible gear on there. That'll be in 2 weeks. And then Jay Franzi's coming back, and I got Edward Weniger coming on as well, talking about some cryptocurrency. Certainly some interesting things happening this week as Ethereum finally merged. Took forever, but Ethereum is now proof of stake, which means Ethereum miners no longer work. I never thought I'd see that day, but that day is here. So it's a pretty major change in crypto. We'll ask Edward about it, and by then we'll have some fallout on it. Crypto prices are down right now, and I don't know if it's because of that, but we'll chat with Edward a little bit here coming up in a couple weeks and get the latest on crypto. If you join us in the chat room, thanks for coming out. And with that, say goodbye, everybody. All right, Gavin, thanks again for coming out.
No, it was fun. It was good. It's amazing how you can easily fill up an hour sometimes.
Oh yeah. No, it's when you sent me the list and I read through it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be easy. This is gonna be easy, and this is gonna be fun. So I had a really good time. It was fun. These are all topics I'm thinking about, and I really love the YoLink bit. Yeah, I like that.
It's really good in terms of it. I just wouldn't use the hub because, like I said, it's a cloud-based. But if you're fine with the cloud-based, and they got a lot of products that tie into it, but I would see if it meets your needs in terms of what you may want to automate or something like that. If your basic automations, like notify me of the temperature going above this, that's a very basic automation. It will do that type of stuff, right?
Yeah. Is this the one you bought? Let me share my screen again. Is this the one, the freezer?
Nope.
Temperature humidity sensor?
My freezer, just look for temperature sensor. I should go your orders. Let me look at.
Sorry, I had to sneeze there. I've been holding that sneeze for like a half an hour.
YoLink, look for YoLink Smart Outdoor Temperature.
Okay, YoLink Smart Outdoor. There it is. Motion? No,
temperature.
Outdoor.
Temperature. Even just Smart Outdoor is fine. It'll bring up one of those two. Oh, you got the motion. You still have the motion in there.
I know, because I just was hoping it would change it. Outdoor temp. There it is.
Yeah,
there it is. I was hoping it would be smarter than
yours. Looks different. So this, you see the one with the probe here in the middle,
right here.
Yep, that's what I'm using for my pool.
Okay.
Right, because that basically I have it mounted on the side, and that probe goes into the water.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's all it is. And then the outdoor temperature that I have in my freezer looks exactly like this, just without the probe.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I just have it hanging off one of the rails in the deep freeze in the basement.
Like this,
there it is. Yeah, that's it
right
there. Yep. That's it there.
Okay.
So yeah, it works really well. And like I said, distance is great.
Yeah. Well, for that particular application, that's a perfect.
Yes,
that's a perfect. Now, you don't like the hub, so you got them going through Hubitat,
Well, they're
what?
going to the hub. You have to use the hub as
Okay.
they connect directly to the
Okay.
hub, but from the hub, it sends the information up to the cloud. So what I have on Hubitat, there's an app that basically queries the cloud and gets an update every how many and creates like like sister devices on Hubitat that I can
Okay.
then use in
Okay.
everything, right? So
yeah, they do say 2 years here on this one. Battery powered, 2 years battery life.
yeah,
But
and you know what? When it comes to battery, like they're all over the place, but
mhm.
as your smart home grows, you constantly find yourself like constantly replacing batteries. So
Yeah.
today one of my garage door batteries died, and then tomorrow it will be one of the
Mhm.
windows. And it's like I keep a stock of batteries, but it's like every day a new battery dies, like it just drives you nuts sometimes.
You've got you were talking about having one. We bought. I now have a beer fridge and a wine fridge. So like
Yeah.
the wine fridge is in the kitchen, stays at 54 or whatever it's supposed to be for wine temperatures. Then I have a beer fridge, and it was a cheap one. It doesn't get as cold as I want it to, and maybe that's on purpose. But if I need it really cold, I'll just put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
But I've got I bought one of those metal, just old school. It's not smart,
Yep.
no batteries, right? And I just put it on one of the shelves in front of the window, and it works just great. I'm not like, if that fridge if it turns off and my beer gets warm, it's not the end of the world. Right?
Yeah,
For me.
that's
So
different.
that's one of those things. Yeah, that's one of those things where you kind of go, yeah, not sure I need, not sure I need it. Now, I do for the candles, for the scars,
Yeah.
we run so you can
Humidor.
see it. Yeah, I've got a Govee, I've
Yep.
got a Govee sensor right there that sits in that. And then I've got an old Fire tablet that I use kind of just permanently to have that up so I can sense those, super cheap, whatever.
Yeah.
And although it just logged itself out, that was one of those things I was trying to do before the show, and I'm like,
That's why I hate the Fire tablets. I bought them for a tablet for like a dashboard on the wall, but they're constantly updating and breaking things, so I gave up on them.
Mhm. Well, and Govee doesn't have, at least the last time I looked, doesn't have a Home Assistant or I should say Hubitat, but doesn't have an integration, not automatic integration for it. So I couldn't bring it into the temperature sensors that I bought aren't integrated.
Govee,
So
I just checking.
yeah.
Today because I was looking at something. They have an API. It's just a matter of somebody writing an app for it.
There you go. Sounds like you have a new job. And I'm just kidding. Don't do it. Don't do it. Let me figure out if I'm going to put Home Assistant back on something
So
before.
Home Assistant should have something. If they haven't opened an API, there's got to be somebody out there on Home.
As of a couple months ago, no, I couldn't it couldn't, and it's okay. Like I use a dedicated Fire tablet, and it's always
Yep.
on that. It's just always there, and I can look up and see and it's got an alarm on it. The other thing I did too was, we had this Pixel 2 sitting around that it was the grandkids play device when they came over, right?
Yep.
And I was like, why don't I put meter on that thing? And when I'm out grilling, I can use, because the kids aren't over when we're doing that in most cases, and they rarely use that phone anymore, anyways. So I was like, that's going to become my dedicated by the door. It's bad when you have a dedicated by the back door phone that just tracks the meter probes.
Yep.
Right?
Nothing wrong
Because
with that.
that's cloud based as well. So that would come into the phone, meter to the hub. That wood block is basically the hub. And then that hub goes to the phone, and the phone goes to the cloud. And then I can access it from anywhere.
Yep.
Although I don't really, when I'm cooking meat, I really don't go anywhere. So it's not like I need it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I could. Right.
You could.
I could.
Yeah.
Bob's questioning he says wine fridge, beer fridge, cigar fridge. Yeah, Bob, I could do a cigar, an a humidor. I don't know if I don't need a big one like that. I shouldn't even be doing the ones I'm doing. Let's just be really clear. But I do. So it's a good. Yeah. So
there's a Govee Home Assistant integration, it looks like. Did an integration for the API, and then he's showing off screenshots of it and stuff. So you might be able to see something.
Okay.
You might be able to get
now I got to do it so I can add it to my dashboard
buy him a coffee.
have the Surface Pro that I have is perfect for those Home Assistant dashboards. It's perfect. They look great. It's all touchscreen. I mean, touch those tablets are really designed to be dashboards.
Yes. So. My Surface Pro blew up. The battery just blew out of it because it was plugged in all the time.
Yeah, mine is too. It hasn't blown up yet though. So okay, I got to go stand. I got to go finish watching the Chiefs game. So I'm going to go stand, and I'm gonna go stand on my treadmill, get some steps, and finish the Chiefs game.
Thanks very much, Jim. Thanks for having
Gavin.
me back.
Hey, if you're listening live, yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming out, guys. If you're listening live, thanks for coming out. We'll see you guys next time. All right, Gavin.